Let me tell you something the world doesn't want you to know. Every time you choose Netflix over a book, every time you scroll for hours instead of studying a new idea, you are silently agreeing to be left behind. Because success, it doesn't belong to the loudest, the prettiest, or even the luckiest. It belongs to the woman who wakes up every day and says, I will grow, I will learn, and I will never stop evolving. Education is not a classroom. It's a lifestyle. The woman you admire, she's not magic. She just refused to stay uninformed. She refused to settle for mediocrity. And now the world cannot ignore her. So here's my question for you. Are you just living or are you learning? Because in this world, every day, you don't educate yourself, someone else is getting ahead of you. And one day, you'll wake up and ask, why not me? Well, this is your moment. This is your wake-up call. Educate yourself every single day. Because a powerful woman doesn't chase success, she becomes it. There was a time when people said beauty opens doors. But today, it's knowledge that breaks them down. You walk into a room looking beautiful, you'll turn heads. But you walk into that same room speaking brilliance, and you'll turn minds. That's power. That's unforgettable. Because beauty might get the first look, but it's your wisdom that earns respect. Think about it. Have you ever seen someone so eloquent, so informed, so gracefully intelligent that you forgot how they looked? That's not coincidence. That's impact. Beauty fades. Filters fade. But knowledge? Knowledge evolves. It grows with you, sharpens you, transforms you. Let's take a real-world example. You might spend hours on your makeup, your outfit, your Instagram post. But what if you spent that same hour reading a book, listening to a podcast, watching a documentary that feeds your spirit? That same time could change your confidence forever. Imagine walking into a conversation, not needing to perform, not needing validation, but knowing deep down, I know what I'm talking about. That's what knowledge gives you. Certainty without arrogance. That's what knowledge gives you. Certainty without arrogance. A calm fire, a quiet storm. Look around at the women who lead industries, who speak on world stages, who shape movements. Yes, they're graceful. But what makes them unforgettable is what's in their mind. They don't chase attention, they command it. They've read the books. They've asked the questions. They've learned from failure. They've invested in their minds the way others invest in makeup kits. And that's the difference between being admired for a moment and being remembered forever. A beautiful face might make people look once, but a beautiful mind keeps them coming back. When you educate yourself, you walk with a different kind of poise. You speak with intention. You don't need to overcompensate. Your words carry weight, and people feel it, even in silence. You see it in daily life. That girl who gets praised for her looks may walk into the room and get a compliment. But the girl who spent her nights building herself, reading, observing, questioning, she walks into that same room and gets the mic. And when she speaks, silence falls. Eyes widen. And people remember. That's not magic. That's education. We live in a world obsessed with filters and followers. But there's something more magnetic than any filter. Clarity of thought. Knowing your subject, understanding yourself, being able to articulate your truth without fear. That's rare. That's the new beautiful. You don't need a glam team to feel powerful. You need to know who you are and what you stand for. You need to speak with substance. You need to walk into spaces, not hoping they accept you, but knowing you belong. And how do you reach that point? Not with designer bags or likes on selfies, but with discipline, with learning, with growing every day. Knowledge makes you unpredictable. No one can box you in. Today you're learning finance, tomorrow you're studying psychology, next week you're diving into literature. You become limitless. And that's what real beauty is. A woman who cannot be defined by appearances because her mind is too expansive to be labeled. Look around you. The most unforgettable women are the ones who use their minds as their superpower. They don't compete, they conquer. They don't scream to be seen, they speak to be heard. They read while others sleep. They question while others gossip. They grow while others scroll. And when the world finally notices them, it's not because they're trying, it's because they've already arrived. Because in a world where everyone's trying to look perfect, the woman who knows something will always stand apart. When you choose to educate yourself, when you make time to grow, even when no one is watching, that's self-respect at its highest level. You're saying to the world, I am worthy of knowledge. I am worthy of better. I'm not waiting for the system to save me. I'm saving myself. Self-education is not just about learning facts. It's about building a life where you don't have to depend on anyone for your confidence, clarity, or power. Think about how many times you've felt stuck, helpless, unsure. That uncomfortable feeling of not knowing what to do next, not understanding how something works, not feeling good enough. That's not permanent. That's a signal to learn. Every time you pick up a book, take a course, Google a concept instead of ignoring it, you're telling yourself, I matter enough to grow. I deserve answers. That's self-respect. Imagine this. 2 people lose their job. One scrolls on social media all day, complaining, feeling lost. The other starts reading, upskilling, networking, learning a new software. Fast forward 6 months. One is still bitter, still stuck. The other, she's creating her own lane. Why? Because she respected herself enough to not stay stuck. She didn't wait for a savior. She became her own rescue mission. That's the difference self-education makes. There are people who will treat you how you treat yourself. When you feed your mind, people see it. It reflects in your conversations, your posture, your energy. You start to glow with purpose. You begin to attract rooms you once felt unworthy of. You begin to answer your own doubts with power. That doesn't come from approval, that comes from knowing yourself, from sharpening your own mind with intention. Think of the girl who didn't finish university but never stopped learning. She's listening to TED Talks while commuting. She's watching business case studies instead of reality TV. She's journaling at night instead of gossiping. Now, she runs her own startup. People say she got lucky. No, she didn't. She educated herself because she respected her dreams more than her distractions. Every day, your choices are casting a vote for the person you're becoming. When you choose to study, to research, to ask questions, you're not just getting smarter. You're proving to yourself that you're worthy of evolving. It's not about impressing others. It's about refusing to remain ignorant. Ignorance is expensive. It costs you time, money, relationships, and opportunities. And worst of all, it costs you your peace. Even in relationships, self-education is self-respect. When you learn about boundaries, communication, emotional intelligence, you stop tolerating toxicity. You no longer settle for attention when you've taught yourself what respect feels like. You upgrade your standards, not because someone told you to, but because you know better now. Think of a woman sitting in her kitchen, kids asleep, bills on the table, life weighing on her shoulders. Instead of drowning in stress, she opens a laptop and watches a YouTube tutorial on how to start freelancing. That 1 hour, that's not just a lesson, that's rebellion. That's a woman declaring, my circumstances do not define my destiny. That's self-respect in motion. Or picture a young girl in a village with no Wi-Fi, but a second-hand book in her hand. She's learning English under a street lamp. While the world sleeps on her, she's waking up within. That's what self-education does. It lights a fire in places the world forgot. It gives voice to those who had none. It creates freedom where there was only fear. No one can take away what you've taught yourself. Your degree can fade, your job can vanish, your money can disappear. But what you know, what you've earned through personal effort, curiosity, and hunger, that's yours. That's your armor. That's your pride. That's the crown no one sees, but everyone feels. The truth is harsh, but freeing. The world only respects the well-prepared. You can be the most passionate person in the room, but if you're not prepared, your voice gets lost in the noise. Talent without preparation is potential wasted. Dreams without preparation are just fantasies. This world doesn't hand over success to the one who wants it the most. It hands it to the one who's ready for it. You don't walk into a job interview and expect to be chosen just because you need it badly. You get chosen because you knew the company. You understood the role. You had your story straight, your energy aligned, your skills sharpened. That's what makes you magnetic. Preparation, not desperation. Think about a singer with raw talent who never rehearses. She may hit a few high notes, but when it's time for the big stage, she cracks under pressure. She cracks under pressure, she cracks under pressure. She takes on the stage, she cracks under pressure. Now compare her with the woman who trains daily, studies her range, polishes her voice, and breathes technique. When the spotlight hits her, she's undeniable. She doesn't just perform, she owns the moment. That's what the world respects. In a world full of noise, it's not enough to be good. You have to be ready. Opportunities rarely come announced, and when they do, they don't wait around. They knock once. And if you're fumbling for your shoes while someone else is already running, guess what? You get left behind. That's the game. And it's not cruel, it's real. Think of the woman who walks into a boardroom. She's not the loudest. She's not even the most liked. But when she speaks, her facts are solid. Her research is clear. Her delivery is powerful. Why? Because she prepared. While others were assuming, she was studying. While others were talking, she was reading. That's why when decisions are made, she gets the call. The world respects results, not excuses. Or think about a woman who starts her own business. People assume she just got lucky. What they don't see is the 5 a.m. mornings, the business books, the mistakes she studied, the market trends she analyzed. She didn't just launch. She planned her launch. She didn't just hope for success, she prepared for it. And now people say she's different. No, she's disciplined. Preparation is self-discipline in action. It's saying, I'm not going to rely on charm, chance, or emotion. I'm going to be ready. Because when you're prepared, pressure doesn't scare you. Chaos doesn't shake you. You don't panic, you pivot. You don't guess. You know. And that knowing, that calm certainty in the storm, you know, and that knowing, that calm certainty in the storm, that's what earns respect. Even in love, the prepared are respected. When you prepare yourself emotionally, when you've studied your patterns, healed your wounds, learned communication, you don't beg for love. You build love. You don't fear loss. You know your worth. Because you've done the inner work. That's preparation. That's emotional wealth. That's a kind of beauty no one can deny. There's a woman out there who doesn't post her grind on social media. But every night she studies her craft while others binge watch shows. She plans her week while others scroll. She prepares for a future no one else can see yet. And when it arrives, people will call her lucky. But she'll know luck had nothing to do with it. She was just ready. The world does not pause to wait for you to catch up. It rewards the one who anticipated the question, mastered the answer, and stepped forward when everyone else hesitated. You don't win by chance. You win by being prepared for the moment everyone else prayed for but never trained for. That's the difference between being a witness and being the one the world watches. There's no such thing as standing still in life. You're either growing or you're stagnating. Period. And stagnation doesn't always look like failure. It often looks like comfort. Familiar routines, repeated patterns, the same thoughts, the same conversations, the same choices, day after day. It feels safe, even cozy. But beneath that comfort is a slow decay of your potential, your spark, your evolution. Growth is uncomfortable. It forces you to confront truths you've avoided. It demands you break cycles you've grown used to. But comfort has never built empires. Comfort has never created legends. Look at nature. A tree doesn't stop growing because it reached a certain height. It keeps expanding its roots, stretching its branches, reaching for more light. If it doesn't, it withers. You're no different. Not pushing yourself to evolve, then life slowly begins to feel smaller, duller, heavier. Not because it is, but because you've stopped expanding within it. Think of that friend who's been in the same job for 6 years, still complaining about the same boss, the same hours, the same paycheck. You ask her why she doesn't look for something better, and she says, "It's fine. At least I know what to expect." That's stagnation disguised as stability. Meanwhile, someone else with half the talent but double the hunger is learning new skills, networking, watching free tutorials, trying, failing, and growing. Fast forward a year and that person's reality is transformed. Not because they were lucky, but because they refused to sit still. Even emotionally, you're either growing or you're repeating. That's fine. If you keep attracting the same kind of people, facing the same heartbreaks, ending up in the same drama, it's not the world. It's a sign that you haven't outgrown the lesson yet. Growth means asking better questions. It means recognizing your triggers, breaking your habits, and walking away from people, situations, and beliefs that no longer align with who you're becoming. Think of a woman who wakes up and reads 5 pages of a book each morning, just 5 pages. It takes her 10 minutes. While the rest of the world is still wiping sleep from their eyes, she's already feeding her mind. Multiply that by a year. She's read 15 books. Her vocabulary is sharper, her decisions are clearer, her goals are more aligned. She didn't go to Harvard, she didn't go viral. She just chose to grow. Quietly, daily, consistently. And that made her powerful. Or think about someone struggling with fitness. They don't go all in. They don't wait for motivation. They just start walking 20 minutes a day. 1 month later, they're walking 5 kilometers. 6 months later, they're running marathons. Growth doesn't need to be loud. It just needs to be non-negotiable. You can feel it when you're stagnating. It shows up as boredom, anxiety, resentment. You feel like the world is moving and you're stuck. That's your soul begging you to evolve. It's asking you to stretch your mind, challenge your routine, explore new territory. Because the version of you that exists today is not the final draft. There are ideas inside you that haven't been born yet. There's power you haven't tapped into yet. But none of that is unlocked by working hard. Look at any powerful woman you admire. She didn't arrive at greatness by chance. She chose growth over comfort every single time. She outgrew people, places, beliefs, and sometimes even her own fears. While others were settling, she was becoming. And that's the difference between surviving and thriving, between existing and living. Because when you're not growing, you're not just pausing. You're slowly losing the battle against time. Comparison is a silent thief. It doesn't just steal your joy, it steals your focus, your growth, your energy. But here's the secret no one tells you. Comparison is not the problem. The direction of your comparison is. You don't have to be jealous of the woman doing better than you. You don't have to shrink every time someone else shines. Instead, replace comparison with curiosity. Ask yourself, not why her, but how did she get there? Not what does she have that I don't, but what can I learn from her that I haven't yet understood? When you see someone successful, don't fall into envy. Fall into inquiry. Did she read something you haven't? Did she fail more than you have? Did she show up on days you would have quit? Jealousy builds walls. Curiosity builds bridges. One isolates you, the other expands you. Think about a woman scrolling through Instagram. She sees a post of a friend traveling to Dubai, sipping coffee on a rooftop, perfectly dressed, perfectly lit. The usual reaction? Her life is perfect. Why can't I live like that? But let's flip that. What if instead she thought, I wonder how she saved up for that trip? What's her job like? What habits helped her afford that kind of life? That shift changes everything. Because now you're not hating her success, you're studying it. Curiosity turns the world into your classroom. Comparison turns it into a competition you never signed up for. Imagine walking into a room full of powerful women. You can either feel small or curious. What books are they reading? What routines keep them so grounded? What mistakes did they learn from? When you approach with curiosity, even their glow becomes your lesson, not your burden. Let's bring this into real life. You're at work and a colleague gets promoted. Your heart sinks. You work hard too. You're loyal too. You ask, what happened in the past? You work hard too. But instead of questioning your worth, shift into curiosity. Ask, what did they do differently? What feedback did they listen to? What risks did they take that I avoided? That kind of thinking fuels evolution. It breaks the chains of bitterness and hands you the tools for breakthrough. Or think of a woman trying to lose weight. She sees another woman with a toned body and instantly thinks, I could never look like that. But what if she got curious instead? What's her routine? What does she eat? How many years has she been consistent? That mindset turns comparison into a strategy session. Suddenly you're not defeated, you're inspired. Every person you envy has something to teach you. If someone intimidates you, they're probably holding a lesson you've been avoiding. Ask questions. Watch closely. Grow intentionally. Turn every "she's better than me" into "what can I learn from her?" That's how you stop competing and start transforming. The truth is, no one's path is the same, but everyone's path holds value. And when you replace comparison with curiosity, you'll stop resenting people for being ahead and start respecting them for showing you what's possible. That's how leaders think. That's how legends are born. They don't get jealous, they get inquisitive. Comparison makes you blind to your own potential. Curiosity opens your eyes to new ways of becoming. One leads you to self-doubt, the other leads you to self-discovery. You were never meant to be a copy of anyone else. You were meant to learn from the world, not shrink because of it. You don't have to dim your light when someone else shines. You just have to turn your head, ask how they did it, and then go do it your way. Shaudio. 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 You don't have to dim your light when someone else shines. You don't have to do it your way. The educated woman is a force of nature, not because she knows everything, but because she has trained her mind to seek answers, not approval. She doesn't rely on validation to feel powerful. She relies on knowledge. And when a woman combines intelligence with intention, she becomes unshakable. People may try to label her, silence her, doubt her, but they cannot stop her. Because she walks with wisdom as her armor. And no one wins against a woman who knows who she is and what she's doing. Now, what is a woman's knowledge? What does she learn from her teacher? What does she learn from her teacher? What does she learn from her teacher? The question is, does she walk in her power or does she walk in her ineptitude? Because the more I walk in my power, the more I want to push back. The more I want to press pause, the more I want to press pause. She doesn't just sit at the table, she speaks at the table. She challenges outdated thinking, she asks the right questions, and she never waits to be given permission to learn more, grow more, or lead more. Her power is not loud, but it's deeply rooted. Her words may be soft, but they land with weight. Her confidence doesn't come from how she looks. It comes from what she knows. Think of a young mother with 3 children. While they nap, she's studying online courses in digital marketing. She doesn't have a fancy office or a quiet space. But every click, every lesson, every late-night study session is building her future. A year later, she launches her own business. And suddenly people call her lucky. But they never saw the nights she studied while exhausted, the sacrifices she made, or the strength it took to choose education over excuses. That's what makes her unstoppable. Now think about the girl from a small town who was told to just get married and settle down. But she had different plans. She read everything she could. She watched interviews, attended free seminars, built her resume, and applied for scholarships. And now, she's in a different country, doing what no one believed she could. Not because she had all the support, but because she had the will to educate herself. She respected her dream more than her fear. The educated woman doesn't need to be the loudest in the room because her preparation speaks before she does. In meetings, she listens before she responds. She doesn't guess, she knows. And when she speaks, it's clear, sharp, and grounded. Because she didn't wing it, she worked for it. Even in relationships, she's a different kind of woman. She doesn't beg for attention. She understands psychology, communication, boundaries. She's read books most people never finish. So when something feels off, she doesn't cling, she questions. When someone disrespects her, she doesn't break, she decides. She knows how to walk away with grace, because her strength isn't attached to anyone else. It's built from within. Look at any woman who has changed the world. She wasn't just brave, she was prepared. She had studied her craft, mastered her message, and learned from every failure. She walked through doors others didn't even know existed. Not because she was invited, but because she had educated herself enough to create her own space. The educated woman never stops learning. Whether she's reading about finances, leadership, healing, or history, she feeds her mind with intention. She knows that every piece of knowledge is another step toward her independence. It's not about degrees or titles. It's about growth. About becoming so deeply rooted in truth, wisdom, and vision that no one can shake her identity. Even when the world doubts her, even when she feels alone in her journey, she keeps moving. Because an educated woman doesn't wait for applause. Her motivation comes from within. Her drive is sustained by purpose, not praise. She leads not because she wants to be seen, but because she knows she has something to give. And nothing, absolutely nothing, can stop a woman who has educated herself with fire in her eyes and purpose in her heart. The educated woman is a walking revolution. She doesn't beg for opportunity, she builds it. She doesn't chase validation, she creates value. She is not loud, but her silence shakes rooms. Because when a woman educates herself, she becomes more than a dreamer, she becomes a doer. And that kind of woman, you cannot pause her, break her, or ignore her. You can try, but she will still rise, again and again, with deeper wisdom and stronger vision. She is the woman who doesn't just scroll past world news. She reads, she questions, she learns. She knows what's happening in her world because she's not just living in it, she's shaping it. She walks into meetings not to impress, but to contribute. She speaks not to be heard, but to make sense. And when she speaks, people stop talking. Not because she demands silence, but because her words carry weight. She's not repeating quotes. She's lived them, studied them, and now she embodies them. Now think of the single mother who never had the luxury of a classroom, but still wakes up before her kids to take free online courses. She learns while cooking, listens to podcasts while cleaning, watches tutorials while the world sleeps. And one day, she gets hired as a virtual assistant. Then she becomes a manager. Then she opens her own agency. People call it a miracle. No. It was knowledge. It was her choice to become unstoppable by investing in the one thing no one could ever take from her, her education. Imagine the girl from a conservative background, told all her life to stay quiet, stay small, stay in her lane. But she didn't. She taught herself English by watching movies. She learned coding from YouTube. She studied resumes, interviews, and business etiquette. When she finally walked into her first corporate job, she didn't just sit there shy and scared. She was prepared. She had rehearsed in mirrors, failed in silence, and practiced resilience. That's what made her unstoppable. Not just her education, but her refusal to be uneducated. The educated woman is not arrogant. She is aware. She is conscious of her power, but she is also conscious of her responsibility. She doesn't use her knowledge to overpower, but to uplift. She mentors other women. She teaches her daughter not to dream smaller to fit the world, but to dream so widely that the world has to expand to fit her. And when people ask her how she became who she is, she doesn't say, they gave me a chance. She says, I gave myself a chance. You'll find her everywhere, in libraries, in coffee shops with books, in late-night Zoom classes, in small-town corners with big ideas. She's the woman reading finance books in her lunch break. She's the one studying psychology while healing from a breakup. She's the woman who refuses to accept that where she is now is all she's meant to be. And because she learns relentlessly, she grows fearlessly. She's not defined by her age, her past, or even her degree. She's defined by her hunger to grow. Whether she's 17 or 70, if there's something to learn, she'll learn it. She doesn't wait for institutions to hand her a certificate to feel worthy. She knows that her worth was never tied to a title. It was tied to her willingness to expand. And so she expands. Every single day. She studies the game, then changes the game. She breaks cycles because she has the knowledge to recognize them. She walks away from manipulation because she's educated enough to name it. She builds wealth because she learned what no one ever taught her growing up. She doesn't just want more, she knows how to get it. Because when a woman becomes educated, she stops asking for permission to exist. She knows she was born with a seat at the table. So she shows up, takes that seat, and brings other women with her. You want to know what separates the woman who lives on repeat from the woman who rewrites history? It's not beauty, it's not background, it's not luck. It's bold education. It's that relentless decision to rise, to read, to research, to grow, even when no one's clapping for her. You believe in the system, you believe in the system. But if it's the system, then put it to a death threat. You believe in the system, you believe in the system. If you believe in the system, you believe in the country, even when no one's clapping for her. You can't afford not to play. You can't afford not to play. Even when no one's clapping for her. Even when the world tries to shrink her into silence. Because the truth is, the woman who educates herself daily is no longer just surviving. She's creating empires with her mind. You see, the world may not hand you a throne, but knowledge will give you the bricks to build your own. And no one can burn down a throne built with the fire of self-worth, wisdom, and learning. You want power? Real power? Then never let a day pass without feeding your mind. Read one more page. Learn one more thing. Ask one more question. Because the woman who invests in her mind doesn't need anyone to save her. She becomes her own revolution. You think you need a miracle to change your life? No. You need a mindset that refuses to settle. You need to look in the mirror and say, I am not finished. Because you're not. You are building, you are rising. And the moment you start feeding your mind like your life depends on it, everything starts to shift. Do not wait for someone to give you the green light. You are the light. You are the signal. You are the storm. And storms don't ask for permission. They make their presence known. The more you learn, the less you fear. The more you know, the less you chase. Because when you walk into a room full of noise and you carry clarity, you silence it. That is the power of an educated woman. They told you to be humble. Be humble, yes, but never dim your mind to fit someone else's comfort. Be soft, but never ignorant. Be kind, but never unarmed. Because this world will test your spirit, your confidence, your intelligence. But what it cannot take is what you've earned through knowledge. That's yours. That's your sword. That's your shield. Listen, opportunities are attracted to preparation. Not pity, not potential, but preparation. And preparation comes through education. Whether you're watching videos at midnight while the world sleeps, or reading books during your lunch break, or practicing a new skill when others waste time, that is the work. That is what greatness is made of. You don't need to post about it. Let your results speak in volumes. Your voice doesn't have to. Let them underestimate you. Let them say, let them whisper. While they talk, you build. While they gossip, you grow. While they scroll, you study. Because one day, they won't be asking who you think you are. They'll be asking how you did it. And you'll smile. Because deep down you'll know you chose wisdom over popularity. Growth over comfort. Discipline over distractions. Remember this. A woman with a strong mind and a clear purpose is one of the most dangerous forces on this planet. She cannot be manipulated, she cannot be tamed, she cannot be stopped. Because she's not guessing her worth anymore, she's studied it. She's not waiting to be chosen. She chooses herself daily. So let the world see your light. Let your education be your rebellion. Let your hunger for growth make noise that your silence never could. Because in a world trying to distract, seduce and break you, an educated woman is a weapon they'll never be ready for. Keep going, keep learning, keep becoming, because the more you grow, the more unstoppable you become. And unstoppable women, they don't follow history, they make it.